educational system as a whole is extremely broken on every level.
You have this very strange situation where you have a union that's actually controlling the people that make the decisions about the organization. We're able to discover this cesspool of abuse that was occurring at LAUSD. Parents see what we see every day. There'd be torches and pitchforks in front of every school district in the United States.
I mean, pass the trash as a colloquialism in childhood sexual abuse cases typically means that you have a known perpetrator. In order to essentially cover up their crimes at one school, you move them to another school. We'll quietly let you resign. You can go to another school district, or we'll transfer you within the school district. So LAUSD is the second largest school district after New York in the nation. It is a sprawling, unwieldy conglomerate of different what are called districts, local districts, under one central district.
There's hundreds of thousands of students in the district. Has a budget larger than most states, billions of dollars.
What's the relationship between LAUSD and the teachers union?
Schools tolerate the unions, and I think the unions control a significant body and breadth of how the schools operate, reassignment of teachers, and whether or not you can fire a teacher.
It's run by an elected school board. The primary contributor in the school board races is UTLA, and in the last 10 years, UTLA has spent $10 million on school board races. So the school board is completely captured by the teachers union. You have a union that's actually controlling the people that make the decisions about the organization, which I think has led to the culture which has allowed this abuse scandal to proliferate.
I grew up in South Central LA. A typical Mexican family, my grandparents, my parents, all living under one roof. I would describe myself as a kid growing up, very much in my inner world. What I remember about Mr. Berndt is he was a very charming teacher. He was very inviting. He went out of his way to be the most fun and most known. Hard to look back and say this person was my favorite teacher growing up, knowing with the tainted history it has now.
Mr. Berndt joined the district in 1981, and within a year of joining the district, he was cited for pulling his pants down in a field trip to the Natural History Museum in front of his third grade students. There were complaints about Mr. Berndt all the way through 2012 when he was arrested.
I didn't have an idea of what actually happened until later, way later, years later, that I was out of that class and my parents had to sit down and I remember that day very clearly. They had to sit down, look me in the eyes, and explain what they had learned.
It turns out what he was doing is he was putting his semen in cookies, Oreo cookies, and feeding them to his third graders. He was photographing them eating the cookies with semen dripping down their chin, on their clothes, putting cockroaches on them, hissing cockroaches, putting tape over their mouth, binding their hands with rope or cord, binding his with rope or cord, and taking these grotesque photos.
What you thought were happy memories, now filled with doubt, with disgust, with horror, the embarrassment. And to this day, I can't get over the cries of my parents, of seeing them so sad and seeing that they felt like they failed at protecting their child. It's something that definitely stays with you, and you just have to kind of, I don't know. Some days I just don't know.
There were numerous complaints about him from teachers that he was exposing himself. Now, you'd think that given that behavior that somebody from the school, an administrator or somebody, would have made a report about Mr. Berndt. But finally did him in. He was taking these photos on what amounted to disposable cameras, and then he was sending it to CVS to be developed, and he did this for years. Well, what happened is this young 18-year-old girl, who is a hero, saw this and said, "This is wrong." She called the Redondo Beach police. They took it, notified LAPD, and finally he was arrested. There are hundreds of victims, little third graders, who had this happen to them.
That LAUSD is routinely removing teachers and employees from the schools and not saying a word.
Hello, my name is Torie Gibson. I grew up in Red Bluff, California. So the school was one that was very embracing. The teachers were truly amazing human beings. I ended up in Mr. Morris's class because my mom was student teaching in the classroom across the hall. She didn't want me to kind of be under that piece of having a parent as a student teacher, and so she felt it would be best for me to move, and I was put in Mr. Morris's class. His classroom was tucked in this weird, dark place, and it was a dark corner of the campus under these huge oak trees. The building itself was dark on the outside, dark on the inside. He had his own kind of private driveway in the back. It got to the point where he would take me to the school site on the weekends when no one was there. But he also had a private entrance. Nobody would even know we were there because he could hide his vehicle. So even if other teachers were there, and I would say then and even now, teachers go to their classroom in the off hours often, especially on the weekends, no one would have known we were there. He knew exactly what to do, how to do it, when to push, when to back off, when to push some more. During my abuse at the school site, it was consistent, but slow. It started very innocently, asking me to stay in to help him grade papers. It was when I was being kept in from recess every single day and went to the principal multiple times complaining that I was being kept in from recess, and the principal saying that he would check in on it. That's my first memory of knowing that it was an issue. But as a victim, we are re-victimized by multiple adults as adults, which is a whole nother piece of the story.
Jesus Sands was a science teacher. His uncle was a high-ranking administrator. Sands ingratiates himself with a couple females. Our client in particularly, he grooms, he reaches out to, he takes her off campus, he starts text messaging her, he has sex with her at a hotel. She goes and reports it to a school resource officer. They pull our client into a locked room and berate her for hours. "We need to see your phone." And they tell her, if this comes out, everybody's going to know. Basically, blackmail and berate her for hours until she says, fine, and they put a false statement. A few months later, she finds out that he's same perpetrator is sexually harassing other students. She goes to Officer Baranza. He takes it to the Southgate Police Department. The two administrators are arrested. They plead out. They admit that they failed to mandatorily report, and yet 8 days later they're returned back to the school and now still employed by LAUSD. Their convictions are wiped off their record. They're both back in the school district. That is a microcosm of what every case against LAUSD looks like. So Kip Arnold was a physical education teacher. He was arrested for domestic abuse. He was arrested for sexual battery, I believe, and he was moved out of Long Beach to LAUSD. LAUSD didn't check his history.
In my position at that time, it would not have been my decision. However, if I was aware of this, I would have certainly made the Office of Employee Relations aware of it as well.
The principal gets an anonymous report that he's doing inappropriate things with females. The principal wants to fire him at that point. In-house legal counsel says, no, you can't fire him. So they move him to another school without telling anybody whatsoever. Another report of sexual harassment, and he gets moved again, where he ultimately abuses our client. He admits to sexually abusing our client and other females, and then he tries to escape by running from the police and drives his truck off the side of a cliff. We took his deposition. He readily admits all of this.
I knew the girl very well. It started out as she was trying to set me up with her sister, progressed into what happened between the two of us.
You have a known predator with an arrest history, all involving sexual crimes, multiple different schools, keeps getting transferred, and you actually had a principal trying to do the right thing, trying to remove him. But LAUSD's administration wouldn't let it happen. So Terrence Gillard was a wrestling coach. He ran what he described as this circle. If you were in the circle, you were a favored participant, and you got special privileges. But those privileges came with things like he would make you have sex with other people while he watched. And then he would also force himself and rape some of the girls.
My question is, how did your hand come to be on her vagina? Miss takes testimony.
It came close.
Mr. Gillard, you're squeezing her thigh. Mr. Gillard, is that your hand?
Yes, sir.
He was a horrible, horrible human being. He got 100+ years in prison. The person who made the decision not to tell the community about his removal is Andres Chat. Andres Chat is the current superintendent of LAUSD. They do a flawed investigation where they don't investigate him basically at all. He's put back in 7 months later and continues to sexually abuse students. There were multiple reports to the administration that Gillard was acting inappropriately with students, but they were brushed off every single time. Ultimately, one of our clients actually videotaped Gillard sexually abusing her and took it to the police and took it to the administration and said, you didn't believe me, here's the proof. That's what it took. Little girl who had to take a phone and videotape her being sexually abused in order to get the administration to do anything.
It's because of the educational establishment, school boards, unions, their insurers, and the politicians they own. They don't do anything, typically, except deflect, deny, lie, and hide it. Since 1997, I've only seen 2 people in California charged with failing to report. They were LAUSD employees. I mean, they were fired, right? No. They didn't get their jobs back, right? No, they got their jobs back. And certainly they weren't promoted, right? No, they were promoted. And what message does that send? It sends a message, if you're a team player, we'll take care of you. To give you an idea how far down the rabbit hole teachers' unions have gone, the American Federation of Teachers, one of the largest national teachers' unions in the United States, has put out a pamphlet and has publicly taken the position that they are opposed to mandatory reporting requirements. What organization that serves children opposes reporting pedophilia when you know somebody's being molested? That's insanity. Not only a bad policy, it's immoral and evil. And that's where we are. The Department of Education a couple of weeks ago said they're investigating LAUSD. They immediately went, well, this is retaliatory. It's because of Trump. You have a policy they promulgated that says you can allow teachers to be reassigned if they molest kids. Congress and the federal government have a big role here. Every public school in the country receives federal money. So the Department of Education can impose huge penalties, huge financial penalties, up to and including cutting off funds to a school district. The second role is Somebody tell me what's more important than children being raped in schools. Your own government is saying you got millions of victims. Not one hearing, not one U.S. senator, not any committee has had a hearing. That's insane. And I think the other role is for the Justice Department and the Department of Education to start filing litigation against schools that fail to protect children.
The system, the educational system as a whole, is extremely broken on every level. I think what's most important to know about the system is that it's all about itself. It will protect itself at any cost. The ethics of school boards and of superintendents will never change until the system forces it to change, until people are legally held accountable for allowing abuse, allowing other types of illegal activity within the system. Nothing will ever change, because people will protect each other and legacies before they protect children. And I think for me, that is the biggest part of the story. As adults, I would say our number one job as an adult is to protect children. I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's within a home, within a classroom, on a street. Children and elderly, we protect. And the system proved to me and continues to show me that nothing has changed since 1986.